Get us started. As we all know, KW Military has a very distinct way that we start all of our things, but I'm going to give you a disclaimer because Mom has told Dad not to be too loud so we don't disturb everybody else. This might be a muted version, but Matt, take us away.
All right, you guys know what's coming, right? Here we go. This is the way we start everything in KW Military. Marissa got a taste of it last week. So as we start everything in KW Military, it goes like this. Ladies and gentlemen,
Matt.
agents of all ages, KW Military is proud to present your FR 2024 panel.
And as you can tell, Dad never listens to Mom.
That wasn't so bad.
Dad never listens to Mom here. So we're going to get started and we're going to introduce our lovely panelists up here in a second. But as we all know,
well, you guys know this. My favorite four-letter word that doesn't start with F is TCPA. So ensure we always follow TCPA. That's our disclaimer for the day.
yep. So we're going to get going and we are going to introduce ourselves. And then if you guys are over here and you can't see them and you want to move, there's plenty of seats back there. It's totally up to you. My name is Dina Watson. I live in Clarksville, Tennessee. I am the co-lead with Matt in the KW military community. And I am the military spouse side, the agent side, where Matt.
I'm Matt Grudel out of Colorado Springs. I am the leader and the veteran side of the house.
We love that. And we have four people up here, or three people up here. I keep messing, Matt's on the other side, so I keep messing this up. But we're going to start with Kelsey, and we're going to work our way that way. If you guys will introduce yourselves and where you live, what you do, and how you want to be remembered at the end of this panel.
My name is Kelsey Dukakis. I am an active duty Air Force spouse, and my husband is currently stationed at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska. I have been licensed for about 6 years and with Keller Williams for about 5.5. And my team has done right around 55 million in volume in the last 3 years.
Jamie.
Hello, everybody. I am Jamie Krakowski from Colorado Springs. So I
Jamie,
have
you
a
brought your
cheering squad over there.
I mean, look, we had a whole little posse over there.
I know, right? I am a rainmaker in Colorado Springs, have a team. We did right at 50 million in the last 12 months. About 60% of our business is all referral. And we love what we do, taking care of the military community. We have a huge military presence down there. Lots of activity moving in and out, so it's been really great.
Awesome. I'm Erin Ward. I'm from the Norfolk, Virginia, Hampton Roads area. I brought my family with me. So
Thanks, Mom.
yeah. I have a small but mighty team. We average about 150 units a year in the Hampton Roads area, which is the largest contingent of active duty military in the United States with 13 military bases. So our business is very, very military friendly and heavy. And our focus is also, we're very referral based as well. So we do about 60% of our business is referral based as well.
I love that. So I'm going to make sure that you guys have their names up here behind them in case you want to find them later. But Erin, we're going to start with you. We know that things have been really strange and good and difficult and all the things for people over the last year. So share, what's the market been like for you in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, for 2023 was just, I don't know if anybody else had a really strange year, but it was a really weird year. And I think we were really prepped. Keller Williams obviously prepped us really well for some uncertainty in the market. And our market saw about a 27% decrease, but we were really blessed to, gain market share by staying year over year the same amount of units that we were doing in 2022 and the year before that. And I think a lot of that is attributed to how well we're plugging into the military community, because this is the community that's moving more than any other community in the United States. And so for us, being able to really be purposeful and plug into the community, we were able to continuously gain market share in a market that we saw a pretty big decrease.
Can I ask you a follow-up question? So when you say plug into the community, we know because we know you, that community doesn't just mean military, it means your backyard military community. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we're doing is we're putting a focus on making sure that we're educating number one, right? So it all starts with education, and that's true whether we're working with military buyers or sellers or any buyers or sellers, right? So making sure we're coming from a place of strong education and we're bringing that throughout and making sure that people know that they can come to us whether they're going to use this or not, to really find out the best ways to buy and sell, the smarter options to do, making sure that they're the most educated buyers and sellers on the market, and really continuously pushing that within our community, because it's a strange place to live. If you've never been to Hampton Roads, Virginia before, it's pretty unique for sure.
Well, I was going to ask Aaron, how are you staying, you talked about education, how are you staying on top of the educational piece to inform the community?
Yeah, I mean, so that's always plugging into events like this too, right? So I stay educated by connecting with, obviously KW military, organizations like VA Rep, making sure that I'm connecting with other agents across the country. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are the experiences you had? How did you get through that reconsideration of value process, right? Like, tell me more about it so I can bring that back out to my community. Assumptions, just really masterminding all the time so that I can bring that back to our clients and serve our clients better at the end of the day.
We love that. Jamie, what about you? What was the market like for you last year?
So we also have been very, very blessed. We do a ton of outreach to our community as well, and making sure we're taking care of our veterans and active duty members. So we are about 95% military based as far as our business goes. And so we actually, while we had a down market as well in our area, we actually were up 11.8% for the year. So we've maintained a good market share as well, and that has a lot to do with just building our pipelines, making sure we're staying front of mind with our clients, working with a lot of veteran community as well as veteran and active duty service members, making sure we all understand the VA process and what military is dealing with when they're PCSing and ETSing. So we've been, like I said, very blessed that we've maintained market share as well.
I want to ask you one question that I think would help everybody out here. I want you to define, as you see it, staying in relationship with clients. You do this very differently. What does that mean to you, to your standard?
So we do a lot of client events. We do some educational stuff. We do pop buys. So I'm also a Buffini agent. So we've got our relationship marketing network. And so it's a lot about just staying in touch with them. It's not just a 36-point touch. It's about making sure that you're there when they need somebody and providing value to them as often as you possibly can.
But it's also a lot of the community events that you do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do a couple of events during the year that are really that are focused on military. And I'm also the president of Victory Service Dogs. And so we provide service animals to veterans with PTSD. Thank you.
You can clap for that.
And so as a veteran suffering from PTSD when I retired, I had a service dog, and it became very, very important to me to try that, to help with that outreach and make sure that we were serving other veterans. So we do 6 or 8 events with Victory Service Dogs a year. And then one of our biggest events every year is our Air Force graduation barbecue. For those that don't know, Air Force Academy is in Colorado Springs, and our front range is where the jets fly during the graduation. And so last year we had over 400 people at our graduation last year, all past and current clients and vendors and all that kind of stuff. So we just try and do events around the veteran community as well as around our clients to make sure that we are including them in our day-to-day stuff.
All right, Kelsey, so we're going to go to you. I know a lot of people complain it's too cold. I don't want to go outside and do this, but you live in Alaska. So how was 2023 in the Alaska real estate market for you?
We definitely saw it was a bit of a down market for sure, but we really used last year as a building year to get really intentional about what we wanted to do moving forward. After family reunion, we kind of came back and brainstormed with the team. We got really intentional about reaching out to our clients to just fill everybody in and keep everybody updated on what was going on. And we also really focused on a lot of our client events and touching our database.
I want to ask you a specific question though, because I have the honor and privilege of coaching her, so I think I know a little bit more than I should as being a facilitator. But you went through a really big transition last year in finding what you wanted your team to look like versus what you were told it should look like. Can you speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, so we really, we cleaned house at the beginning of last year. I really dug deep with you last year on what I wanted moving forward, how we wanted to build the team, and yeah.
I love that. And y'all have made some great changes. Matt, did you have? I know I interrupted you, but
No, I'll keep going.
all right, cool. So we're gonna stick with you and then go back this direction. A lot of people, when someone moves out of the area, they take them out of their database. But in our community, we know that that's not necessarily the right choice to make. So speak for a second about how are you keeping up with people in the military community such that in the future they also can be business and referrals for you, Kelsey, and then we'll go there.
So we have our, we use a lot of Facebook groups, and that's majority Facebook, and Facebook groups is how we stay in touch with our clients. We also have newsletters, we do events, and yeah.
I was going to jump in. What you do is phenomenal. Tell us a little bit more about your outreach to those that are not in your area to educate them on what is in your area when they come that way.
And you guys are going to want to take notes on this, and Kelsey, hold your mic close so everyone can hear what you're about to say.
Yeah, there's gonna be some nuggets dropped right here.
So at the end of Family Reunion last year, we really dug deep, and when I first moved up to Alaska, it was really challenging for my husband and I because there were not a lot of resources, there was not information, and I wanted to, when I started in real estate, provide that for our military members. So I put together a ton of different resources and put together a relocation package that we would share with a lot of our clients. But last year we decided to take that relocation package to another level, and we created a Zoom class that we call PCSing to JBear, and we go through that whole relocation package. We educate people, we basically just blast it out on all of our social media groups, and that's really how we get people before they get to Alaska.
So just for clarification, what she's saying is that she's taken if you have a relocation guide of some sort, even if it's not great, raise your hand. Okay, so instead of just passing that out, what she's doing is hosting a live orientation style class so that people can join it. It's totally free, and it's literally an orientation about what they're gonna find when they move to her area. And so she's getting people when they are just now realizing they might possibly maybe move to Alaska. I think that's genius.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Instead of just reading it, they're immediately connecting with you before they even get there, forming that connection, that relationship, instead of just reading a document.
We were able to actually close 12 families last year. We started it in April, and then we have a pipeline of about 40 clients moving up here this year. So
you guys are going to want to find her when we're done and pick her brain about this, and we may feature you on an upcoming KW Military Learning Series on how to do this because it's so good. Jamie, what are you doing to stay in touch with people who relocate locally and out of your area?
So very similarly, we offer a PCS guide for people coming into the Colorado Springs area. There's a ton going on in Colorado Springs at all times. It's a huge area. There's lots of activities. But ours is primarily newsletters, birthday cards, anniversary cards, personal notes, and calls to all the people in our database throughout the year. We do use the DTD process, and we really try to stay front of mind with all of our clients. And we do still get a lot of referrals coming in from out of state.
Erin?
Yeah, I mean, we try to teach up front the clients that we're working with now how to refer to us, right? It's not a natural process that people are used to. So right in our first buyer strategy session, which we don't call it a buyer consult, it's a buyer strategy session, we start talking right then and there about referring to us. So obviously the military community, as big as it is a small community, right? So they're always gonna know people that are PCSing to other places or coming to our area. And so this is a great way where we're able to even connect with people that never come to our area. And maybe somebody in Groton, Connecticut is heading to San Diego, California, and we're making those connections to those people we're not even working with, but we're constantly having the conversation about how do you refer to us, because I know they know people that are moving in and out, and now it even works, forget even in the military community. We're doing this if you don't live near a military base. You know, this is something you can do and start teaching people. Anytime somebody's moving to the area, anytime anybody's making any kind of move whatsoever, you're the one to call, but you've got to teach them to do that. That's how we get to them first.
Well, tell us a little bit more. How do you actually teach them to call you?
Yeah, well, part of it, so we use, I know there's a lot of you have probably heard of the promise, right? And so if you've ever been to Bold, you hear about the promise, and this is the promise that, you know, we're going to go through this transaction together, I'm going to hold your hand, and at the end of the day, I'm going to ask you for a 5-star review. We've also added in there that we're going to make sure that you're constantly hearing from us, that we want to know, we've got to replace you at the end of the day. So Matt, when you and I close on this transaction together, I got to go find another awesome Matt, right? And you probably know another awesome Matt, wherever, you know, and so I need that person back, and we have got to have those conversations, because it's not a natural thing to just think that, oh, I need to make sure I'm referring my real estate agent. You're starting to plug that information over and over again in their brain.
I want to hit on one other thing that you mentioned, and you don't call it a buyer consult, you call it a strategy session, and in the military that goes a long way. Why did you start calling it that? What's the difference?
Because I think a consult sounds too clinical, right? Like, I go to a consult with my doctor, right? Or sometimes, you know, I have to consult with my attorney. You know, I wanted, you know, it just didn't sound as fun. And when we talk about strategy, it goes back to that education piece, right? We're going to create a strategy together. This is a partnership. We're going to come up with a strategy together, and we're going to start with the end in mind, right? So we're going to work backwards. We're going to start with the end in mind and figure out where do we need to go and how do we need to get there. And it's a partnership together. And so as soon as we started switching it over to the buyer strategy session, we booked a lot more and they showed up more often.
Two key things: partnership and journey together.
I was actually going to say that, bringing people in on that. You can go ahead, Jamie, but bringing people in on that. I think we fail to realize, all of you, it is their process. Has anybody forgotten that in the last 12 months, that it's actually your client's process? I know I have a million times. Jamie, what were you going to add?
Yeah, just to add in on this as well, I mean, we are all wealth advisors. And so especially in the military community where people are leaving and coming and going all the time, why don't we teach them that wealth advisory opportunities, and when there are opportunities in your area for them to buy an additional property, or if they're moving away and keep that property and you have to help them find a property manager, or you might need to go and check up on that house every once in a while for them so you have eyes on. It's really staying in connection with those people that are leaving your area and helping them increase their wealth as well.
So what I'm hearing you say is, everybody in this audience, you are not just a real estate agent, you are a lifestyle and wealth concierge, right? You are a lifestyle and wealth concierge, not just a real estate agent.
Well, and to add to that, when people move, they think they need a new real estate agent, but if you have a really good wealth or financial advisor, do you look for another person? Never. You're never going to do that, right? So, Kelsey, we're going to start on this end with you. We all have been, if you've been to Bold or any class in your market center so far, raise your hand. Okay, so everyone here has heard of the normal ways of generating leads and marketing. Outside of the normal ways of marketing and generating leads, what are you all doing differently that actually works?
So we use a lot of social media. We really try to build those connections, like I was saying, before people are ever arriving to Alaska, providing that relocation package, inviting them to the Zoom class. We also do a lot of we do a lot of client events that we just connect with everyone that we have in our database. We like to get in front of them. We do a Christmas event every year that we normally have 250 to 300 people come. And it's just, there's so many, Alaska is so far from the lower 48 that a lot of people just don't have family. They don't have family. They can't afford to have family come up to visit. So we really try to create those events really family focused so that people can bring their kids and get photos and just have fun.
Well, it sounds like what you're doing is you're forming a community with inside of your sphere of influence.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and I was also going to say, you're providing something that and not all of us out here in this audience live in a military community, and yet in a military community, especially in Alaska, but truly in any of them, what I think we don't realize is that people generally don't go to family gatherings and things like that. And so we overcomplicate it when really what they're looking for is the culture, the connection, the community, the camaraderie, and that's what you're giving them. I love that. Jamie, what about you? Other than boring old normal marketing tactics, what are you all using to hit the numbers you're hitting?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot on social media as well, not at Kelsey's level by any means. But most of our business that's coming in is from agent-to-agent referrals. And so we have done a really good job at building a huge database of agents all around the country that we have developed relationships with that entrust us to take care of their clients. And this is a great community for that. So if you've not really dived into what your niche is, if this is yours, then dive into it. Establish those relationships. Figure out through command where people are moving to your area from, and start out, that outreach to agents around the country to help get your name out there.
Well, let's get tactical. How are you actually staying in relationship with all of your referral partners in your database?
I do a lot of one-to-ones. So I make it a purpose to meet with 20 agents a month. And some of my team is here. They know I'm constantly on Zoom, meeting with people on a very regular basis. I get involved very heavily in masterminds, agent-to-agent networks, involved in BNI, and it's just really created a ton of relationships for me, but understanding really who those people are. It's not just a name in my database. I've actually talked to them. I've actually sent them a referral. I've actually had the opportunity to connect with them for an hour, or meet them at mega camps or family reunions. And it really creates that camaraderie and that relationship to make sure that you are front of mind, or that they are front of mind when I need somebody as well.
Jamie's very humble, but I'm going to ask you to brag on yourself for a moment. Is that okay? I know you can't really say no right now, sorry. So how much business did you all do last year, and how much of that was agent-to-agent referral?
So we did in the last 12 months, we've done 125 transactions, and we are at 67% agent-to-agent referral.
Can you say that again? 60 what?
67%.
Which is
the
like
other
70 units, y'all. It's like 70 units.
Yeah. And the rest is direct sphere relationships. So my sphere, my past clients, those types of things.
He said a couple things. One, intentional and purposeful, and having one-to-one conversation with my referral partner, and forming a relationship, a friendship, a camaraderie.
Yeah, I really think it comes to capitalizing, and I think all of us are really great at it that are up here. When you come to these events, really capitalize on getting those opportunities to meet with people that you've talked to throughout the years. Find them, sought out for them, and really kind of have an opportunity to have a one-to-one conversation with them. Share a coffee, go for lunch, do a mastermind, whatever it may be. Don't miss out on the opportunities to network with those that you want to be in your wheelhouse.
All right, Aaron, I've seen you, I love Halloween, but I've seen you in more costumes and silly things on your social media than ever before. So is this a marketing tactic?
No,
or what are you doing that's not boring marketing that's getting you business or agent referrals?
That's just literally how I am. I don't think there's any actual there's no thought process into it. But I mean, yeah, we do a ton of agent-to-agent referrals, but we looked really closely. That's how I started my business, actually. My very first transaction came from an agent referral. That was kind of crazy to give, a brand new agent a referral, but that's how it worked out. But we wanted to be really purposeful too. As much as that's a huge part of our business, we also looked at the other, 30 and 30 percentages, and really focused in a lot on, once we started building that, and we're still extremely buyer heavy. But we knew that if we started with buyers and we stayed in relationship with them, we would get referrals out of them, and they would become, our past client sellers at some point. So we've done a really good job of being 30% of our business now is past clients, repeat business. So one of the things we see a lot, and this can happen whether you live in a military town or not, is that education piece. Now we're talking a lot, there's a lot of equity sitting in houses right now that's not doing anything for anybody. So part of the education piece that we're talking about and speaking about the wealth building, and now we have our past clients coming back to us to now buy investment properties, right? They're looking at other opportunities. They're moving up. When we first met in our buyer strategy sessions, we talked about, hey, can this rent right? In today's market, at least cover your mortgage, right? Now we've seen the appreciation on that. So they're moving up. We're talking about house hacking. So 30% of our business has become past clients, and not just past clients that are, PCSing or moving out of the area, but also focusing in on that education piece of past clients who are now leveraging wealth building opportunities through investment properties and things like that as well.
So can you role play that conversation with me? If I'm your client and you're educating me on how to refer you and all of these things, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if as an investor myself, one of the things I'm always going to look at, Dina, when you and I are working together, is we're going to look at what's the appreciation value in a normal market, which we haven't seen in forever, right? So we really got to dig in there, right? And so one thing, when you and I are out looking at houses, we're going to make sure that there's appreciation in a normal market for the property that you're buying. Because, obviously you're in the military, there's a good chance you may PCS. I mean, where we live, it's easy to stay, right? But we want to make sure you're protected. But we also want to look at it from the aspect of, I kind of want you to buy and hold, right? I think there's a lot of great strategy and wealth building opportunity, especially leveraging your VA loan to buy and hold. So let's also look at what does the rental market look like, and what is the appreciation in that neighborhood and that geographic area that we're looking at. What does the rental appreciation look like? So how can we build your net worth, right, over time and leverage your VA loan to do that? Then we make the call, right? Like right now is the best time to buy. Right? Like get out there. Don't miss out on. We have the investor conversation.
Matt and I are fighting over this next question. Really quickly though, if someone is sitting in the audience and they're not comfortable talking about net worth and appreciation, was that what you were going to ask?
Keep going.
All right. What would you advise them to do first? Because we don't ever want to be giving people wrong financial advice. So if they're not feeling financially savvy enough in their seats right now, what would you tell them to do next?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? Like as real estate agents, we have the most data at our hands when we talk about, building value within real estate. Learn how to read the data in your market, right? You have access to it. Data is king, right? And that's one of our buyer strategy things is I'm never just going to tell somebody what they should offer on a property. I'm going to show them so that they can also create the value idea and learn how to make proper offers themselves. But you've got to learn how to read the data. You've got to learn how to dig in. And I know in your market centers and in your local areas that there are classes for you to be able to get in there and get real comfortable on property valuation and going back, do a 5-year history, right? What does your market look like? Do you know your stats? You should know all that and get really comfortable with it. Once you get comfortable with it, everything else is easy.
Well, I want to sit here for a second because a lot of things when you talk about the buyer strategy session and educating them with all this value, some of that comes out to be a hard conversation around this is not your forever home. How do you deal with that type of conversation?
Yeah, again, it goes back to, so this is where you got to get into, it gets a little hokey sometimes, right? Because what's your long-term goals? What's your dreams? Like, tell me what you want long-term. Again, we're getting in relationship, hopefully for a lifetime with these folks, even if they move out of the area, right? But we want to talk about long-term, and most of our buyers are young. Like really young, like early 20s, right? And that's probably my favorite thing. I get more excited about that than anything else because I remember being stationed at Fort Hood, Texas in 1995, right? Where they said, do not buy a house until you retire. That was the advice we got, right? You don't use your VA loan until you retire, right? And so we never did, right? And so having those conversations of this is where I was at, this is where it put me so far behind from a relational standpoint. And let's be real, everybody wants the Pinterest house, but the Pinterest house isn't going to make you money, right? That Instagrammable house isn't going to make you money. So let's show you the strategy. And by the way, you guys all have this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Keller Williams' Hold book, but if you haven't seen it, buy it. And there is a spreadsheet that is the most genius, mind-blowing spreadsheet that's available if you take the Hold class that will just open your eyes up and you can show it to your clients on how they can build wealth just utilizing a spreadsheet and putting in the numbers from your MLS. It's amazing.
And I guarantee you they sell that book in the Red store.
They do. Yeah.
It's called Hold. Jamie, I know we're not like necessarily sitting on the same kind of an approach that she has, but when hard conversations come up, especially with military members or veterans or people who are in our community, how are you handling those conversations?
As far as like wealth or?
Yeah, specifically around the advising them about what to do versus telling them what to do concept. How are you having those combos?
Well, I think number one, it comes to if we have a commission breath we are going to have a little bit more difficulty educating a client on what's their best option, right? And I understand that. We've all been there. You need a deal, you need a closing, you need a commission check. But I think if we just continue to work on educating all of our clients on their opportunities, whether it's utilizing their VA loan to its fullest extent, buying additional properties within the area that they're in, holding them when they PCS to other areas, we have to be that advisor to them. It is imperatively important that we help our clients build generational wealth. And I don't think we do a good job at it in general. And I think if we did better at it, we would end up with more referrals from our clients who are like, hey, Jamie helped me buy 5 homes in the last 5 years. If you want any information on how to build wealth through residential properties, give him a call and he'll help get you set up.
I think it was, I don't know what day it was, Dina, but I think it was a CEO summit. Someone said that when you're selling, you're dealing with wins and losses. When you're serving, you're only dealing with wins, and we serve our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think as long as we continue to lead with a servant heart, for all of us who are in military here, everyone has that servant heart innately. And so pass that on to your clients. Help them figure out what their best options are. And they don't always have to sell a property. Our price point in Colorado Springs is a lot higher than a lot of other areas in the country. And there are times where they can only afford a $300,000 house. It doesn't get you a lot of house in Colorado Springs for $300 grand. You've got to tell them that's not their forever home. Let's get you in that house, and if you're still here in 3 or 4 years and you want to move, we'll help you upgrade and keep that house. But it's just, again, it's advising your clients.
Well, and I think Jamie set you up perfectly, totally by accident, because he started talking about price point, and there's very few places in the country where it is more expensive to buy a home right now than where you live, especially in military communities. So when you have someone in your situation, you're bringing them in to how to consult with them on lifestyle changes, plus really high cost increase changes. How are you guys doing that?
I like to share my personal story. 6 years ago, we were in $120,000 in debt. We moved to Alaska. We had no idea, everything was so expensive. My husband was E3. So I like to share that with our clients, and really just educate them on the value of it long term. So yeah, maybe you're gonna use a little bit of your COLA towards your mortgage payment. But in the long run, that's going to benefit you because your home is going to appreciate. You're going to be able to move in a few years or rent it out. Our rental market is insanely high. So yeah, long term, it's just sharing that story with them.
I love that. And here's the thing, you all, how many of you, if you were $120,000 in debt, would choose not to share that story? Raise your hand. Come on. Every one of you would say, I'm 130 grand in debt. No, you wouldn't. Most people would not do that. And yet, Kelsey, for you, what has happened with the connection to the people you share that with that allows them to trust you so that they take the rest of your advice?
I think moving to Alaska it's expensive in general. So I think just building that relationship so that they trust us, and I'm not just trying to sell you a house. I truly want to help you build long-term wealth through buying real estate. Because we all know that you can do that.
Yeah, I love that. So kind of staying with you, and we'll quickly go that way. Aside from what you've already mentioned, within the military community, how else are you generating leads? How are you generating those relationships?
So I get involved a lot on base, and especially in my husband's flight and shop. We sponsor a ton of their Christmas events, their cookouts. I will fill their snack baskets and their fridges, and just I'm usually the first call. I'll get text messages from, someone random in the shop that's like, hey, so-and-so's moving up here. I send them your information. So I really try to stay connected with our shop family because that's really what they are.
I thought they were going to ask you for a Snickers. They're not calling you for the snacks?
Well, maybe that too.
All right, Jamie, so aside from the referrals and the sphere client type stuff, what else are you doing within our community to generate business?
I don't know that there's a whole lot more. I'm just very involved in military communities. I'm involved in our KW communities. Just really making sure that I try to be the person they think of when they have somebody going to the area.
I want to stay with you though on this. How does your community involvement, and even if you want to touch on your nonprofit, how does having that as the way to enter the relationship change the game when it comes to conversion and bringing those relationships to fruition financially for you?
I mean, I think having and being a part of an organization like Victory Service Dogs, it helps you tell your story. It helps you give back to the community, and people understand that you come from a servant heart and servant leadership, and you're not there just to sell them a home or whatever it may be. And I mean that genuinely. It's not it's not something that's false or fake. And I'll give a little plug. It's victorysd.org. If any of you would like to donate and help a veteran with a service animal, I would love the support. We're coming up with a huge national campaign outreach right now that we're working on, and so you'll probably see it at some point anyway. And so I think it really, I have not gotten one referral from my board at Victory Service Dogs. It's not why I am there. It's there for my outreach. And I think just when you're getting referrals, though, and people are looking at what your social media presence is, and they're looking at what your community outreach is, and the things that you've done in the past, it does give you some more opportunity to have a more genuine conversation with people and a very higher trust level.
What about for you, Erin?
Yeah, I mean, my background is working with, before real estate, I was the chief operating officer for a large veteran service organization. So I just continuously stay plugged into a lot of the different military nonprofit organizations that are doing really, really good work out there. Particularly, I serve on the DoD's Housing Roundtable as well. And that just helps me stay a little more in tune with what's going on. I mean, no longer an active duty military spouse, I'm not necessarily seeing everything on the ground or going through the things anymore that our active duty families are, or even our families that are recently transitioning out. So that's a lot of what we're doing. But we're also doing SkillBridge in I don't know if everybody's familiar with SkillBridge, but this is an opportunity where as active duty service members are transitioning out of the military, they have the opportunity up to 6 months to basically intern with a company. And so we've been hosting SkillBridgers for quite some time now, and that's helping us we're hosting them even virtually across the country. So a lot of our SkillBridgers aren't moving when they get out of the military to a military town necessarily, or even staying in our town. So, we've had SkillBridgers who've gone to Paducah, Kentucky, right? Which nowhere near, maybe an hour 15 outside of Clarksville, but they're nowhere near.
Nobody going there, Erin.
Yeah, I know. But that way we're able to continuously support the community, and we're helping out everywhere and anywhere.
Well, I was going to say, so you're consuming a lot of information to educate the community. How are you picking and choosing and being intentional around the information that you're consuming?
Yeah, well, I mean, spending a lot of time around a lot of veteran service organizations, I kind of figured out the ones that I wanted to focus on, right? So I put a lot of emphasis on military families, employment, things like that, and housing for obvious reasons. And so I put that's the kind of information that my community and the folks that I come in contact with the most seem to want, right? So a lot of employment resources for military spouses and veterans. I mean, if they don't have a job, I can't serve them in a lot of ways, right? So those kind of things are super important to us. But I also want to help with things like food insecurity. So we work very, very closely with a organization called the Military Family Advisory Network that helps with food insecurity. And they've donated over 150,000 pounds of food in the last 3 years in military communities. But they also, it's amazing. They also put out a survey every 3 years. That's one of the best surveys I've ever seen in my entire life in how they pull the data. And that survey gives me a lot of information too that I can read about what's currently happening, not just with active duty families, but what's happening in retiree families, recently transitioned families as well. So I know where their pain points are so that I can try and come up with solutions, right? Because when I can help with solutions, whether it's in my community or nationwide, then I'm just becoming coming from a place of value at that point.
I want all of you to write something down, though, just one question. And of course, we can see you if you're not writing it down. All right, so write down the question: do I understand the pain points of my audience or my community? because what she just said that you might not have thought is she knows the pain point so she can solve the problem. If you don't know their pain point, you can't solve their problem. You're solving a problem you think they have, and it almost never aligns. So write down, do I understand the pain points of this community?
Yeah, and one of the reasons why, because right now I think we all get those folks that, you know, they're like, I'm just gonna rent, I don't wanna buy right now, you know, I just wanna rent. And if you dig deeper and you realize that they're also potentially going through food insecurity issues, which I don't go grocery shopping a lot because it's my least favorite thing, but my husband goes almost every day and tells me almost every day how much he hates spending $100 for, like, I think a gallon of milk and
One
eggs.
bag of groceries, maybe. Yeah.
Right. So whether you live in a military community or not, there's a very good chance that the people that are telling you they don't want to buy may be facing food insecurity issues. So if we don't know what the resources are, right, and if you can't dig deeper, then you can't convert them into buyers, right?
Well, and I was going to say, in Fort Liberty, which formerly Fort Bragg, the county that's right attached to that, 17% of that county is food insecure. And those are our military service members and their families as well.
Well, it's all about asking questions. You can't connect unless you ask deeper questions. And when you ask the deeper questions, you can identify the problem and solve it.
So, Aaron, we're going to stay here and then we're going to end with Kelsey. Sticking with this theme of your life's walk right now, where you're not active duty, you're no longer an active duty military spouse, and you may be seeing more of the side of what happens after transition. If somebody out here wasn't in that bucket of people who are currently serving and they wanted to break into this niche market, what would you advise of them knowing everything that you know now?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question. I would say you've got to find where they're at, right? And I think some of these areas, whether you live in a military area or not, you could host events and things like that bring people together, right? And they could be military specific for sure. And do a day of giving back, or recognize, you know, a nonprofit that focuses on service dogs, right? So this is something we do where we just team up with a local brewery in our area, right? And we'll team up to bring in a nonprofit, usually military affiliated as well. And the brewery, we want to promote it. The nonprofit's promoting it as well. And I'm getting in front of a lot of military folks at the same time. We actually have a poker tournament coming up. That's the same kind of concept, right? But you can also tag in. I mean, we all have, everybody in the area has a Department of Labor in your town, right? You have a workforce development office, right? And so when veterans quite frequently move to different areas and they're not military affiliated, those workforce development folks usually can hear from them, and they often have VA spots. Go out and connect with those workforce development folks as well. You can make a ton of contacts and find a lot of military buyers in workforce development offices, as weird as it sounds.
Well, I've already lost all my money, so I won't be attending your poker tournament, but I am there in spirit. Jamie, who hasn't lost all his money yet.
I have not.
I almost gave Jamie my money last night to go win it all back. But anyway, so Jamie, for you, if somebody out here maybe isn't in a military community, isn't in a military community anymore, or is just looking in general to add this to their sources of business in their own business, what would you advise of them to do?
I think it's just imperative to get involved in some type of veteran or active duty services wherever you can. If you're not in an area that has them, there still has to be some kind of organizations that do some kind of support in your area. We have Mount Carmel. We have a ton of different organizations in Colorado that is there for support of veteran services. I think it's just imperative that you kind of figure out where the needs are of the veterans and service members, and really kind of help and learn to facilitate and anticipate what some of their needs are. I have a huge vendor list, and it's been very important to me to be able to provide resources to anything that anybody ever needs. If they need to know where to go buy toilet paper, I want to make sure I have that resource for them. So I think it's really important that we just understand the needs, the complexities, the difficulties that come along with a PCS or ETS, or even just retirees who just don't know what they need yet, and really being there to provide a resource for them.
And if there isn't an organization, you can start an organization.
Just real quick, you just made me think, Jamie. There is there's an app. It's called Mill Map. and it has a list of all nonprofits and veteran service organizations that work within military communities, but I would highly suggest that. It's MilMap. It's actually created by the nonprofit Military Family Advisory Network.
I love that. So for you, someone looking to break into this niche market, add it to their repertoire, what would you advise them to do, Kelsey? You are the only active duty person up here, so what would you say?
I'm kind of going to piggyback off of Jamie. It's really put together resources. Like if you were moving to the area and ask the people that you are working with, like what would be helpful to them? What can you be providing to them for when they get there?
Well, and the easiest way to know that, in my personal opinion, you just ask them, what do you wish you knew before you got here that you had to figure out on your own and it was entirely too difficult? Jamie, did you want to add something?
And just to add into that, so we've created, it's nothing major, we haven't put a ton of effort into it, but it's a PCS guide for families coming to Colorado Springs. And in there we have job lists, we have the school lists, we have a lot of information about the community itself that's going to help those spouses understand really what they need to look for or what interests they might have, what medical facilities we have, what hospitals there are. There's a lot of nurses and stuff that come in and out. And so just make sure that you're providing that information for those individuals and families that are coming in to help them with success right off the ground.
I mean, so we're looking at providing information that mitigates any potential problems or questions they might have.
Yeah, and again, it really gets you in front of those people before they're even coming to your area, right? So a lot of times these, when you're PCSing or ETSing, whatever it may be, you're really trying to figure out things 4 to 6 months before you're going out there. Sometimes 2 to 3 months too. And so be a sounding board, be a resource for these families that can say, hey, where do I take my kids to play? What parks are there? What jobs are there? What careers opportunities are there? What schools can I get involved in? Just be a resource, and you've got to dive in and learn all that stuff yourself so you can have these conversations with them and be successful.
I'm going to throw a curveball for just a second. Sorry. Not sorry, because I think you all need to hear this. So every one of you has mentioned getting to people before they arrive. Why, and I'll start with you, we'll just go back that direction, Kelsey. Why is that the play versus waiting for them to raise their hand? Why is that more important?
I think if you're building that relationship off the bat, they're going, whether or not they buy or not, you're going to become that long-term. You're building that relationship. They're going to stay in connection with you.
I love that. Jamie, for you, what are your thoughts? Why do it before they get there?
Mine's slightly different. I want that outreach be the sounding board of who you're going to refer if you know anybody ever coming to the area. So if I can get in front of them and provide value, even if they don't buy, I still want to be that sounding board for them to give them advice on what to expect when they get to the area.
And I want to ask stay with you for just a second. Some of the people in the audience are not in a military community, but they are in communities where people retire and go. Is this any different? Do you see it any differently, right? Because people know they're getting out of the military long before they actually do, yes? So what would you do in that case?
So not all the agents on my team are veterans. And we have kind of helped them understand what this niche really is. And so it doesn't matter necessarily if you're active duty or retiree, you're going to deal with veteran services, you're going to deal with active duty members. I think it's important to make sure that you educate yourself on what this world is like and make sure your agents around you know that as well.
I love that. So Erin, with you.
Yeah, I mean, I like to get to them as early as possible because, again, it goes back to the education piece, right? So the more time I can have to talk them out of, to talk them into the appropriate buying, right? Like the educating them on what they should be looking for, but also too, in my area, if you're moving from, Missouri or let's say Fort Riley, Kansas, and you're heading to Virginia Beach, there's a lot of sticker shock as well. So the earlier I can start working on those kind of things and really having more and more conversations, and of course, building that relationship, the better. I mean, really, truly, that's when we can really have them make super smart decisions on their buying power, the buying and the selling process.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, setting expectations, certain areas like yours, I'm not really sure yours, but, when you move to Colorado Springs and you think wherever you came from at $200,000 for a 5,000 square foot house was going to be the same as you were going to get in Colorado Springs, of course, I want to be able to educate them on before they come that 300 grand is about a 1,500 square foot house, and it's not going to be a mansion.
And it goes that way with whether they've bought before or not, right? Not just first-time home buyers, because, I mean, I went through the buying process before and never had any education from my agent whatsoever, right? It's one of the reasons I wanted to get into real estate was to do better, right? And I know all of us out here, you know, you've got a client that's coming in that maybe bought before, you're gonna wow them when you go through the strategy session and actually sit down and educate them. They're never, ever, ever not gonna wanna use you in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I want to sit here for a second. I want to ask Aaron. So like Dina said earlier, a lot of us out here don't live next to an installation. How do I do that if I'm not next to an installation? How do I provide all that?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change. I mean, you could take the military out of what I do all day long, right? That doesn't matter. We're using the data and the relationships. So, one, connect with relocation companies or HR departments at the big companies in your area. Go online, find out the movement travel patterns to your area, whether you live in a military town or not. All of this information and data is out there for you. Now connect, how are they coming and what are they coming to your area for? And then who are the people that are gonna get you in front of them at that point? Being in a military community doesn't change, or not, doesn't change how you can do that at all.
So Kelsey, I want to ask you specifically one thing in regards to educating before people get there. One of the things that you realized, 8 months ago, is that your demographic, the first-time home buyer, the young military family, which is who you were targeting, wasn't who was buying in Alaska because of the price. How does that conversation go when you're getting to people beforehand and helping them understand what they would have to do in order to purchase a home in Alaska?
I think
Yeah, so like, long story short, what we realized was that your age group, your sphere, your people were not the people who were buying. Now what do you do? For your business, right? Like for your business, how do you change your conversations if you realize, if somebody out here is like, I'm doing it, and it's not working, then what?
I think that just building that relationship for the long term. So maybe it isn't right now, but educating them so that down the road when they are ready,
Yeah, they come back to you. Cool. All right, we have a few minutes left and then we are going to open for questions. So if you had one last thing to say, maybe something you wanted to mention that we didn't ask about, what would you leave with these people that they could take action on in the next 24 hours?
I think just putting together some sort of relocation guide or class or whatever that is for you. It doesn't have to be fancy, but some sort of value that you can provide to people moving to your area.
Jamie?
Mine's very, very similar. Create a plan on learning as much as you can about everything that you want to in the niche that you're going to concentrate on. Provide value on that, whether it's a guide, whether it's educational resources, whatever it may be, and start building those relationships around that.
Aaron?
Yeah, I would get really, really good at the education aspect of what we do. Really good at it, because at that point, they're not going anywhere. You have a client for life. So when you can learn how to educate people, whether it's on wealth building or whatever you're comfortable on, making sure they're the most educated buyer on the market, you need to be that service provider, and you better know your data. So get really comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to education. It's either we're validating what they already know, or we're educating them around what they don't know.
All right, so what we're gonna do, if all of you have questions, anyone who has a question, there is a mic right here in the middle. If you'll line up real quick, right next to Vanna White. Ernie, just kidding. But in the meantime, can we give it up for these three people? There's a lot of business being done on this stage, and you guys rocked. You were awesome. All right, so here's what we're gonna ask. They will kick us off of this stage in about 10 minutes. So if you can keep your questions quick, concise, and if you have the question for one of them, just mention that person.
Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm from Hawaii. Aaron, my question for you was, for your buyer strategy sessions, how long are those? How long are you spending on them?
My husband's probably gonna laugh right now because I frequently do these at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they're long, right? So they're probably a good hour to an hour and a half.
Love that.
Yeah. And I'll give it to you. I'll give you the recording of it if you ever want it. You can have it.
She's like, yes,
I'll take it.
And remember to stay close to the mic because it's hard to hear with all the stuff going on in here.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm the proud mother of a Marine sergeant.
Yeah.
I live in an area where we don't have any military installations. What is the best way on social media to connect with military? Because things like Facebook, they don't let you target your military.
Well, you should be buying lists, right? So do you have, what state are you in?
California.
Okay, so that's escrow state. Yeah, so can you get a list from like your title or your escrow company that says, you know, here are your VA buyers in the area? Yeah, send them letters.
Well, I was
Tell
gonna
them
say-
you're a mom.
Well, I want to start the social media groups. I love what you said about having Facebook pages.
Yeah, send them a letter that you're starting a Facebook group. Put a QR code on it.
Or maybe you have something on, like Kelsey does great classes on the PCS orientation and what that might look like. Maybe you're concentrating more on like an ETS thing and the services that are provided in the area. Just kind of find what that little world is and just pour into it.
Yeah, get that list, reach out to them, and then tell them, hey, this is the group that we're doing, and invite them in and provide that value.
Before you walk off, something that Phil Jones said in our MAPS coaches training is that you are distinctly set up to serve. Well, no, it was in CEO Summit. You're set up to serve the person that you are or once were. You could also provide information on wherever your area is or whatever area you're targeting on if I'm a parent and my child is moving here, what should I know as a parent in order to help my child, right? Because that's the position you're in as well.
Yeah, great suggestion. And then one more question. How do you leverage your recruiting stations?
I mean, the only one thing I think you want at a recruiting station is the recruiters.
Yeah, it's tough. You can make relationships with the recruiters there. Bring donuts, bring coffee. I'm serious. Like, just spend some time hanging out around there. Start having conversations with those guys.
And leverage that mom aspect. That's a big deal. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Taylor Bagnick. I'm an active duty military spouse out of Virginia Beach. For me, I'm struggling around the operations of it all. Like when you are capturing this information, what is one tool that you guys are using that you just can't live without for your 36 touch campaigns, capturing their information and then staying in communication with them?
Our work system's heavy, so I've always been like a real systems snob. So I think of it this way, right? IFTT, if this, then that. So if they're coming in, then what happens next, right? And so it's a joke. In my office, if you come in, Taylor, come to my office and see it. If you come to my office, there are probably 13 whiteboards, right? And they're on wheels, and we will sit there and just plan out, you know, if Jamie sends me a referral, then what happens, right? So then I put the referral in the CRM. I put Jamie in the CRM. I immediately call and I text. I log all of that. I set a follow-up if I haven't done anything. And then I have a full action plan to keep Jamie updated, right? So really sit down and think about from where you got that lead to all the way to the closing table, and then years later, what does that process look like? And make sure you're using a tool like a strong CRM, maybe Command or whatever, that has the ability to set all those action plans up.
And is that Command for you?
It is not. We're using another CRM, but yeah, I mean, I think any of them these days all offer that same capability, but I think the bigger thing is sitting down and saying, what does it look like? What's the path? Really?
Yeah, I agree.
CRM is
Systems and
whiteboard.
processes and coming up with a
Yeah,
plan.
I see it.
If this, then that. So you get a referral, you add them in, you send a gift card, whatever it is. Just have a system and process and how you're going to do it, and do it the same way every time so it becomes familiar.
And just start it and start working through it, step by step.
And we can do that. It's called design thinking. There's a great process around it that I got certified years ago in it, and I geek out about it. So if you ever want to do it, you just let me know. It's fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, Eric Default, Cape Cod. Want to cut a YouTube video, get back to my office. Relocating to Joint Base Cape Cod.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah, I was
sorry.
gonna say, you could actually
All right, so I'm
tilt
gonna,
the mic up.
all right, there we go. Sorry.
There you go.
So if I was to just cut a YouTube video, leaving here, relocating to Joint Base Cape Cod, what are, like, if anyone wanted to take that action item, what are the 4 questions you need to answer?
I think Kelsey would be good to, because you have the most dramatic version of like what you need to know to move somewhere. So what would you?
I think it would be the things that are, what are the most questions that you're asked? Like, what are the top 4 things that people ask when they're moving to that area?
I was just saying, like, in general, like, what questions you guys get repeatedly over and over for people relocating?
Ours are jobs, Ours are schools and outdoor activities. Where's the parks?
Truthfully, I think it's the same everywhere.
It really
Yeah.
is. I
Right?
mean,
Other than how to clean moose poo, I think the rest
Yeah, I
of
was
it
gonna
is
say,
exactly
lots
the
of
same.
Yeah,
Y'all's
I
are a
mean-
little different, but most places are the same.
I would probably go out and start doing videos of location stuff, really kind of educational. Hey, I'm here right now, I'm hanging out, this is a great little coffee shop, this is a great park to take your kids to, this is the best bounce house, this is where you go to Dart Wars, whatever it may be, and just start providing those things to the people that are coming in.
I want to give you an actual tool, and all of you should likely write this down. There's a system called answerthepublic.com. Answerthepublic.com. If you put the name of your city, this is a system that consolidates Bing, YouTube questions, Google questions, any question in a CRM or in a platform, search engine anybody would ever ask. If you put your name of your city, it's going to give you 150 of the top questions people are asking the search engine. So instead of us giving advice or what we think the questions are, answerthepublic.com will literally tell you what everyone is searching in regards to the name of your city.
And then when you ask those questions and you educate them on those questions, you're not just talking to the 6% in your database or in your area that's moving, you're talking to the 94% that's out there. So answerthepublic.com, just start answering those questions. You can just do 52 weeks worth of questions right there.
You can also just type in real estate to answerthepublic.com and it will tell you nationwide the most common questions being asked about real estate, and then just put the name of your city behind the question and answer the question. So, good.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mitchell from Columbus, Ohio, and I am the spouse of a retired soldier. And I somehow have fallen into the space of being the relocation expert for my team because we moved 26 times in 20 years. And so my question is, with relocation, what do you do to market your relocation packet or information?
We just post it all over Facebook groups. Like, we just blast it on Instagram, Facebook groups, and then we also have like sign up so people can just sign up on the link and just get it right to them from our Instagram.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm gonna add a tool in there too
Yeah, love
that's
it.
like automation wise. It's called Mini Chat, MANY Chat. And so this is the thing where you can, like, if you have a post and you've created a relocation guide and you want my guide, and I'm on Instagram and you type in guide in the comments, it automatically sends it, and I've got your information as well, and it goes into my CRM.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Lopez Ramirez. I'm a retired Marine from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Yes, I'm short, but I can hold my own, I promise you.
Matt
I know you
couldn't
can.
reach it either. Don't worry about it. He couldn't.
Well,
reach
my
it.
question was already asked by Eric, so thank you so much. So the only other question I would have is, Aaron, I would love your buyer strategy guide.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you can have whatever you want.
Hoorah.
Hoorah!
My name is Alice. I'm from Kansas City. So we have lots of military bases near us. We've got Whiteman Air Force Base, Fort Leavenworth, Fort Riley. I am not a military spouse or military myself, but would love to get directly involved with the bases. Is there any advice you could give someone like me that, is there a department or any way that you can get your educational courses out there to someone who can help you to share those opportunities with military?
It's really, really tough. They have a lot of that stuff on lockdown. But what I have found is some community outreach within some of the military communities. So like I'm one of the sponsors for the back to school program with the Air Force Academy Chaplain's Office. And so I just got introduced years ago. I created a relationship with them, and we sponsor the back to school program. So we bring backpacks and all that kind of stuff to about 250 kids every year. And so you just kind of have to find somebody that'll talk to you and kind of let you start doing some stuff with some of the communities.
Thanks, guys.
And there's a organization called MWR, which is Morale, Welfare, Recreation. They want your sponsorship money. Call them.
Love that. All right, give it up for these guys. We're going to get out of here. They're going to be over here to answer questions for a few more minutes. And thank you all for coming.
All right,
We'll
thank
see
you.
all later.
Thank you, everybody.